It's that time of year where we start to look at our lives and think about all the things we're thankful for. And for me personally, there's many things to be thankful for. And one of them is that I've got a good roof over my head, but there are many out there who can't say the same thing. And Chippewa Valley Habitat for Humanity is trying to change that. Chippewa Valley Habitat for Humanity was founded in 1991, the affiliate here in Eau Claire, and has built over 40 homes and has repaired dozens of existing homes in the Chippewa Valley. Habitat homeowners help build their homes alongside volunteers and pay an affordable mortgage that works for them. And guess what? You can help out. One way is volunteering, either helping out with home building, fundraising, or in different areas like shopping at the Restore. By shopping at the Chippewa Valley Habitat for Humanity Restore, the proceeds go to help fund home builds and repairs for families in our area. And if you have a donation like a couch or building supplies, appliances, and more, you can donate them to the Restore and help keep items in stock. You personally can help make a difference in a family's life. You can help a family be thankful they have a good home to live in. For more details on the Chippewa Valley Habitat for Humanity, just visit cvh4h.org. All right. Majority of you venting some frustrations with the lack of moves by Green Bay. We'll just say that the majority, pretty much all of you right now, with some of the texts and that are coming through, not happy with Green Bay, even calling for some jobs at this point. All right, so we'll see. We'll see how the rest of the season plays out. But I don't know, and I know a couple of you asked about Odell Beckham again. I think I mentioned it yesterday. I haven't heard anything about where he's at in terms of his recovery. I haven't seen that anywhere. Um, and you know what? If Green Bay continues to lose, he ain't gonna go to Green Bay. I mean, he's gonna go to a team that's gonna go to the playoffs and have a shot to win another Super Bowl that way. So, Green Bay's got to start to win some games before even talking about Odell. But I mean, if he's not even ready till December, I think there's like end of November. I've heard of December and that sort of thing. It ain't gonna matter if they don't win some of these games and at least put them in a position to make the postseason. So I don't think it's going to be anytime soon at this point. Don't forget, stock reports are due. So whose stock is rising, whose stock is falling. You can hit us up with a quick text on that Shoe Doctors bullpen line or on Twitter at DANKSPR, Facebook.com / Kasper Sports on there too. But whose stock is up, whose stock is down. We'll get back to some more Packers chats coming up a little bit later on. Next hour, though, we're going to talk a little hoops. Bucks looking for another win, going up against the Pistons tonight. And they maybe got some good news surrounding Chris Middleton. Got a Chris Middleton update coming for you. Maybe getting closer to a return from Middleton. But the way the Bucks have been playing right now and still undefeated, it's been, they can maybe be a little bit more patient with the return for Chris Middleton. So we'll hit up some hoops talk. We got the college football playoff rankings out there. Tennessee at number 1, World Series. Pivotal game 4 tonight. Pivotal game 4. Can the Phillies take a 3-1 lead, or can the Houston Astros tie that thing up at 2 apiece? Big win last night for the Phillies. Home run ball was the king last night for the Phillies in the early parts of the game. So taking that 2-1 lead, but pivotal. Plus around 8, let's say 8-10 or so, we'll get to a little showdown again. The 2 years that we've got going at each other for our showdown, 1971 and 2005. So quite the gap there. Which year was the best year between those two in sports? Movies and music. We'll hit that up. Coming up a little over an hour from now. But you can keep your thoughts coming about the lack of or no moves by Green Bay yesterday by the trade deadline. Are some of you kind of thinking that seals the fates for the rest of the season? Or are you willing? Do you still have some confidence, or are you willing to say, okay, let's see if these rookies can rise up to the challenge. Let's see if this current team can rise up to that challenge. So, we got a couple minutes left. Good morning, Morgan.
What do you think about the no moves?
Not surprised.
Well, do you think, because there's a difference between being still and doing nothing. Do you think they're being still and staying with what they have and working within that, or do you feel like they're just doing nothing?
Yes, both.
Yeah.
Both. No, I mean, I think it's just I think we're going to hear the company line that they've got confidence in their current group.
Okay.
Yeah, that sort of thing.
Well, then I'll leave that to you guys to hash out. We haven't done Wednesday wildcard for a
No.
little while because we get sidetracked and started talk. So I'm gonna shuffle up these cards. We're gonna make Kasper dive in to the question pile and answer us this today. Okay. Oh, I got it. What makes you nervous?
Nervous. Well, nervous or scared? Which way are you kind of like?
Nervous.
Nervous. Okay.
What would you say?
Nervous.
Are you like somebody that doesn't like driving in city traffic?
No, that don't bother me.
Okay.
Well, I mean, going into situations I don't know anything about.
Okay.
That's what makes me nervous.
So, just in general,
So,
walking
so I guess like for driving, like if I went to if I had to drive to New York, that might make me a little bit nervous, or like going to an airport, because last time I flew, I was in middle school.
Okay.
If I don't know how to do something, where to go, that makes me nervous.
So you wouldn't sign up for like an improv group?
No.
Where you just have to go on stage and roll with it and see what happens and yes and?
No.
Okay.
No.
Well, then you're going to be really nervous to dive back in because then you're facing a whole bunch of unanswered questions here for the second time. Kasper has to tell us, what would you miss if you were no longer in this job?
What would I miss?
What would you miss? If you did something else, you were bounced on, got a different role, what is something you can honestly say you would miss?
You get to talk sports.
Besides the obvious.
Yeah, I mean, you get to talk sports and talk with people on there. But I wouldn't miss the constant negativity sometimes.
You wouldn't?
I wouldn't miss that.
But so much of it originates with you.
Hey,
so
no, come on.
It's
I'm pretty positive.
It's gonna follow. Yeah, but your face betrays you. Your words are positive sometimes, but your face.
What does that mean?
Another story.
What does that mean?
You have resting Kasper face. A lot of people look at you and think,
good thing the Oscar music just kicked on.
I'm
now,
just
so
saying.
We don't have to do that.
You should talk to your face and tell it not to scare people so much.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
I'm here to help.
So, just saying, who started that one there?
I'm here to help.
No.
Friendly advice.
My, no more negativity.
It's not negative.
No more negativity on this program.
I'm going to get you a mirror. We're going to work on it.
Second hour on this Making the Turn Wednesday, kicking off right now. Appreciate you all tuning in wherever you may be tuning in, however you may be tuning in, if it's on the radio dials, online, sportstalk1051.com, the Sports Talk app, your Google and Alexa home devices, the video feed on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. Bunch of different ways for you to join and to tune in, and then you can join us via texting us on the Shoe Doctors bullpen line 715-830-1912, or hit us up on Facebook and Twitter. Coming up in just a quick minute here, we'll do the Chippewa Valley Habitat for Humanity Good Vibe and Wednesday story. Got some sports nuggets coming up here in a few seconds. We'll talk some hoops. We'll talk some baseball. We got stock reports due. We'll hit that up probably about 9:45, actually. That way we can kick off Showdown right away at 8:05. The 2 years for Showdown, in case you missed them, 1971 versus 2005. 1971 versus 2005. So got a little bit of a gap there. But let's do our sports nuggets of the day here. Not a whole lot. 1938, it was announced that Babe Ruth had applied for the job of manager of the St. Louis Browns after being released as a coach from the Brooklyn Dodgers. 1964, CBS purchased 80% of the New York Yankees for $11.2 million. 1972, construction began on the Kingdome in Seattle. 1992, Magic Johnson retired from the NBA, this time for good, because of a fear due to his HIV infection, although we know he came back for a little bit a couple of years later. We got Eric Metcalf, 1997, with the Chargers, set an NFL record when he ran back 2 kicks for touchdowns. And 1999, NBA.com TV was launched. So those are just a few of your sports nuggets for the day. Your Chippewa Valley Habitat for Humanity Good Vibe and Wednesday story. Keeping it local here, as we know we're getting now to the holiday season, that we're in November. And locally, there is an opportunity to help support our troops by sending a care package this holiday season. It's the 14th annual Troop Care Package Drive going on now through next Friday, November 11th. Donations of food and personal care items can be made at all the YMCA of the Chippewa Valley locations, Liney's Lodge, or all McDonald area Catholic schools. Monetary donations are also being accepted. So if you want to help out our troops and help send some care packages, it's the 14th annual one going on right now through November 11th. So good vibing right there. Good stuff by the YMCA of the Chippewa Valley. Surveyor Sam with a quick message here this morning. How can anyone be mad? Green Bay never does anything at the trade deadline. It's not their nature. Just use this season to build upon and see where it goes. I didn't think that they were going to make a move. I think the one thing where it kind of got me constantly updating the feeds and Twitter and all that was, TJ Hawkinson getting traded and then Chase Claypool. And it's like, okay, now, you're Green Bay, you got to do something at this point. And lo and behold, they didn't do anything. So, but again, that's not in their nature to not do anything. We've been down this path before. How many times shouldn't be that surprised about it? Although I was guilty too of just constantly refreshing, waiting for something to happen after seeing a couple of those moves made yesterday. So, as the Honorable Travis from A-Town wanted me to pass this question along and ask the rest of you, do you think the lack of moves could have a similar effect to kind of the Josh Hader trade from the Brewers, in terms of like the locker room and the clubhouse and such? G-Man agrees with the Honorable, saying, yes, this will hurt the Packers locker room. Go Phillies. How about the rest of you? You can let us know via text 715-830-1912. Again, Facebook or Twitter. Let's switch gears here a little bit. Hoops, basketball, Bucks back in action, looking to remain undefeated, going up against the Detroit Pistons again at home before a quick trip to the West across the border against the Timberwolves on Friday, then back home Saturday against OKC. So with this Bucks team, Chris Middleton updates. He is being assigned to the Wisconsin herd, which means probably getting close to a return for the for the Bucks here, getting some work in there. So just progressing through his rehab and all that. So good signs there. But I mean, I think right now, Lucas, don't you think the Bucks can kind of afford to play it safe with how they've started off the season and how well they're playing right now?
Yeah, they're the best in the NBA at the moment. They have the best defense. They have the lowest number. They have the lowest opponent points per game in the league, by a decent amount, by almost 2 points over Cleveland. They don't have the best point differential, but their defense is really, really good right now. So yeah, of course they can, and they're going to get better as the season goes along. Again, the asterisk on injuries, but that applies to every team. So yeah, I talked yesterday morning, recorded a conversation with Craig Kashan. We're going to play back Friday morning on the show. Mainly looking back in the Brewers season, but talking a bit about the Bucks and understanding there's obviously that Pistons game coming up later today. But overall, how the approach the season is going, and he's glowing over the team right now. They are a well-oiled machine at this point. He made the point of, with all the suckiness we have in Wisconsin sports right now among the higher profile teams, relative mediocrity, I suppose we could say. This is an exception. Dive in on the Bucks. They're really good without Chris Middleton. So imagine how they're going to be with Chris Middleton. Not saying they're going to go like 74-8 this season, but they are definitely the best team in the league right now. I'm really curious if the Ime Udoka thing gets confirmed with the Nets. That is a good move. If that does happen,
Basketball wise.
Yes. That does also raise a whole lot of questions about, wait, so is this more a thing on the Nets character wise, or is this a thing on the Celtics character? Like, wait, what? I'm perplexed on this one. So yeah, that's the whole nother thing. But in a basketball sense, great move. Of course, then there's the issue of, speaking of character stuff,
I was going to say, you're talking about the Nets here. So
Kyrie Irving, shruggy emoticon. And that's putting it lightly, considering the talk of the last week or so. But in terms of coaching, that is a definite upgrade. All of that being said, I will take the Bucks about 95 out of 100 times in a matchup with the Nets in a series. And those other 5 are that allowance for the potential of everything to break right with all of the talent on Brooklyn. The Bucks are definitely the best team right now in the NBA.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I totally agree. So, but still, reinforcements coming too with Chris Middleton makes him even more dangerous at this point.
Mm-hmm.
But Brook Lopez has had a nice start to the season, kind of getting a little overshadowed by Giannis, because Giannis has been just absolutely fantastic. But what Brook Lopez has done, kind of stepping up as that third option this year, I think Bucks fans should give him a little bit of a tip of the cap over there too.
Mm-hmm.
Defensively, and I mean, he just dropped 24 points the other night when he wasn't feeling well. So, but defensively, he has been pretty darn awesome down there.
The second longest stretch of at least 30 points in 5 straight games for Giannis. The other time was 6 straight in November of 2019.
So will he get that done tonight, do you think? Will he tie that tonight?
Yeah.
I think so too.
I'll say so.
I'll go with that. Yeah.
Well, plus there is probably a little more reliance on him with no Middleton for now. It is a little surprising that they would do that, where I thought they were going to rest him a little bit more early in the season so he doesn't get burned out after Eurobasket this summer. But I guess if Giannis can handle it, why not?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, go with what you're capable of doing. And if he can keep throwing up this number of points without exhausting himself, and he's playing a fairly smooth game, great.
Mm-hmm.
And plus, there will probably be more time to rest him, maybe mid-season, towards later season. Again, presuming everyone is healthy, when more players come back, Connaughton comes back, Ingles comes back, then maybe they can space that out a bit so Giannis is really ready to go come April for the playoffs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I don't know. It's just there's a different feel with this Bucks team. I almost feel like I don't know how to kind of put my finger on it, but it just feels like and maybe it's just because Wisconsin sports sucks besides the Bucks right now.
Here's a team that's competent. It's a team that is executing well. It feels like they've locked, and again, as much as we can say after 6 games of an 82-game season, this is perilously close to overreaction Monday after week 1. The Panthers are going to the Super Bowl. But they feel like, think of it kind of like the Malcolm McLaren 10,000 hours of doing something and then to master a task. It almost feels like this Bucks team, and probably because they've kept so many of their players around for a while, especially this particular offseason, that they've kind of mastered the art of all playing together. They've got their chemistry down. They know their talents. Again, that level of confidence akin to the best NBA teams of all time, where they go out and it's just business. And at the same time, it's just fun. And that's where the Bucks are at right now. Whereas there was still a sense of, can we shoot threes? How are we going to do on defense here at times in other years? It's starting that way from Milwaukee this season. Again, we've got 76 more games to go, but it's looking really good.
But we're on pace for 82-0. I'm just saying. So
that also is true. So, I mean,
when can we start talking about best record of all time?
Now. Let's go in.
We need something positive to talk about.
And they be the first undefeated team in NBA history.
Yeah, let's do it.
And then they'll lose to the Pistons tonight. But no, it does feel like they've punched through to that next level of, we're out here, we're doing our thing. And they don't feel like they're having to learn as it goes along, which also makes me feel better if they did have a critical loss for a certain amount of time this season. If Drew goes down, Giannis goes down for like maybe a month or two. Like that.
So does that also mean confidence has grown in Mike Budenholzer since, the last couple of years? There's been some Bucks fans questioning about Mike Budenholzer.
I think so. The NBA GMs, I'm trying to remember exactly how that preseason poll went, but they were pretty high on Mike Budenholzer. And I think there's still an impression here in Wisconsin. I was thinking, oh my gosh, the guy's he's a lesser Mike McCarthy. I
would agree with you.
Yeah, no, that's but I don't. I think he coached fairly well last year. I think he did finally adjust later in the NBA playoffs in the 2021 season. It took really until later as I recall, I think it was later in the Eastern Conference Finals, getting into the NBA Finals before it seemed like he wasn't costing the team inherently. And even then, there were still times it'd be bringing in Jeff Green, like it was like inherent to his ethic and being to have Jeff Green get minutes. Like, why are you doing this? But last year, I think he was a good coach. There was no reason to think, had the Bucks gotten past the Celtics, that Budenholzer was going to cost them in a potential Eastern Conference Finals or in the NBA Finals. It was an injury that cost them, but not Budenholzer at all. I think Budenholzer already, come on, he is a good coach. He had his weaknesses, and they may still flare up, but he is a good coach. Mm-hmm. And I think he's become a better coach. I think I think it's safe to say he's a really good coach. I don't know that he's the best right now, but he's top 10. I think that's safe to say. I think based as the season goes along, you can probably put him in the top 5 if this is a good season for the Bucks, especially if they win the NBA championship this year. Then yeah, he is a top 5 coach. That's the reality of it. They're playing well, and he's the coach.
Every year, maybe every 6 months or so, we always kind of have a little fun thing like, who's the best coach in Wisconsin right now? Given everything that's been going on, would Mike Budenholzer be number 1? I feel like he'd be number 2 just because people love Jimmy Leonard so much.
Okay, so there's a difference between maybe the Q ratings of each coach, and how good I believe they actually are based on what we've seen, and those are very different rankings. I put Craig Counsell number 1.
Ooh, see, no, we have a lot of people who want him gone.
Well, I know it,
and I'm not on that train.
Right, I know it, but that happens every year.
Yeah,
Craig Counsell simultaneously is like the September wonder and what the F are you doing? And you hear that almost the same game. But Craig Counsell is maybe a top 3 manager in baseball.
Ooh, top 3 of
Yeah.
all not just National League, all of
I
baseball.
think he's top 3 all baseball. Yeah,
Okay.
and I mean that's what I hear from people who like big baseball analyst types or ESPN types. They think highly of him. I think he'd get a lot more attention if he were in a bigger market. It's just that he's in Milwaukee and the small market by MLB standards, and the Brewers, while they're competitive, they're not always playing on the verge of the World Series. They're definitely not the Yankees, so they're not getting all the attention in the world. So, but yeah, I'd say he's number 1. I am really reticent to knock Matt LaFleur down a lot because he looked so good for 3 years and he seemed to be making so many good decisions. And I don't know that it's necessarily him that's been making a lot of these decisions this year, except the offensive play calling is getting weird. So I'm going to keep him I'm going to knock him down to number 3. And I'm going to put Budenholzer ahead of him.
Okay.
He should be number 2, but
No, you can have Greg Gard and all that in there.
Yeah, I know. These are pretty close rankings, mind you. If we're doing like total number of points assigned, and you can look and go, oh, you're only like a point ahead out of like 302 to 304. You know, like in
like an AP poll.
Exactly. There's a lot of bunching up here. And LaFleur could, gosh, with a month of good football, which I keep thinking that's going to happen at some point. Magically everything will turn back on, and okay, here we go. And then he'd be back up to number 2. I think Budenholzer's been rising the list. I think he's barely number 2. I'd say Gard is at 4. We haven't seen enough from Jim Leonard to know.
Say it's kind of incomplete, right?
Yeah, so he's 5th kind of by default. Now, in terms of Q rating at this point,
different.
Yeah, Leonard is number 1. Wow, after that,
I think it might be Budenholzer just because I feel like Budenholzer's not getting talked about, so that's good enough.
No news is good news.
Right.
It's kind of a bad way to put it. I think Counsell probably. I think Greg Gard has gone up of late because of the way the Badgers have shown some resilience over time. The whole fire Greg Gard thing is really tamped down, especially watching like this past season. They kind of pulled back. I think Gard is probably 3. I think Counsell is a close number 4 because I think a lot more of the criticism, way more criticism on David Stearns than Craig Counsell this year.
Mm-hmm.
But Counsell's probably at 4 at the moment, but he could vault. He's in a position to vault back up. And right now, Matt LaFleur is number 5.
Yeah.
Can you believe we're saying that? Because if this were August, he'd probably be number 1. And I know that Paul Chryst was there, not Jim Leonard. But even if Jim Leonard were there, I think Matt LaFleur would have been number 1 in August. And how the mighty have fallen.
Yeah, no doubt.
But again, this is a dynamic list. He could be right back up there if they turn this team around and he makes a lot of clutch moves and everything. And
it's like the stock market.
This is a stock report in its own way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Arrows up, arrows down. So.
And a lot of them could still bounce all over the place. I do think Budenholzer is going to be probably pretty steady for the regular season because I don't think there's going to be as much attention until the playoffs. Like we're going to have, again, like I was saying earlier, like Mike Budenholzer not adjusting and always having the equivalent of a Jeff Green player always going in for us to go back to is Mike Budenholzer going to survive the playoff run? Questions that we had. Hard to believe we were saying that a year and a half ago.
Right.
Yeah. And now looks really stable. But who else would you get at this point for him?
Steve Nash is available now.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe there's an Antetokounmpo brother we can slot in as coach.
Well, I'm disappointed actually that Kyrie's not coach since, when they hired Steve Nash, he made the comment about we don't need a coach. So why didn't he step up and be like, I got this?
Remember
that comment he made?
Yeah. This is where I insert the Bill Simmons too scared to make a joke about anything comment. Anything you go with Kyrie could go really, really wrong, really, really fast. All right. I'm glad I'm not a fan of the Nets. I mean, I know they got like 6 fans, but let's be real. I mean, come on, that's a Knicks town. And how many Nets fans do you have outside of the greater New York metropolitan area? I'm being facetious. They've got a fan base.
Nets have been better than the Knicks, though, in the last 20 years.
That's the funny thing. I mean, the Nets have been far more relevant, but
I've actually, made a couple of NBA finals. I know Knicks was at 99, the shortened season. Yeah, because they went up against the Spurs. That was the Ewing theory game.
yep,
When they went to
that
the
was the
finals.
one.
That
And
was 99, right?
That was 99,
Okay.
and then before that was 94, and then you have to go a long ways back before the Knicks were in the NBA. Well, you have to go, 70, was it 73 that they won the title over the Lakers?
Could be.
Yeah, I think that's what it was. They won the 70, I think. So yeah, they're closing in on, should they wear a 50th anniversary patch? 50 years since our last title?
Maybe. I mean, some teams do.
There's so much merch out there with so many things on jerseys nowadays.
When you look at I for whatever reason, I saw this the other day, but when you look at that starting lineup of that Knicks team, it wasn't that bad. Marcus Camby, you had Chris Childs, you had Allen Houston, you had Latrell Sprewell, you had Larry Johnson, you had Kirk Thomas, you had Charlie Ward.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it wasn't that bad.
Well, and that year was weird in terms of seeding and such.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this is not like if today's Indiana Pacers went on a run. They were legitimate. They caught fire at the right time.
Mm-hmm.
I also don't know just how much of a difference Patrick Ewing really would have made. Like, I don't think he's giving them the title.
No.
They would have been better. But Ewing was approaching the latter part of his career. I mean, my gosh, he was 15 years into his career. Was it his 15th season? No, his 14th season at that point.
But it felt like he'd been around for 20.
Yeah, right. But no, that it's a Knicks town. That's the thing. They've been there longer. The Nets have bounced around from Long Island to Jersey and then over to Brooklyn, and they have the ABA history, and they're basically like the Clippers, where the Clippers have been clearly the better team in Los Angeles, but the Lakers own the city.
Yeah,
That's kind of how it is.
Yep, no doubt.
It's like here, the Bucks can be incredibly good, and people are going to spend their time whining about the Packers. Well, they got a potential all-time team also playing high-profile professional sports in this state, but the Packers have been around a lot longer, so it's way understandable.
Well, it's also during Packer season.
Well,
too,
that's
so
this isn't exactly a fair comparison.
Mhm.
But watch, in the spring, people will be freaking out about Packers stuff when the Bucks are on a playoff run too, because that's how it goes.
All right, we got to take a quick break. We'll talk some baseball World Series. Game 3 last night. Game 4 coming up tonight. Plus, more of your thoughts on the trade deadline. C-Bomb, I've made it through these stages of grief on the lack of Packers moves. Buckle up the chin straps and fight to get to the playoffs, and anything can happen. Summon the 2010 ghosts of Packers pass. We got Adrock. I think this quote, not in their nature to make trades philosophy for the Packers is garbage. What's not in our nature is to lose 4 games in a row and have no signs of improvement. Packers fans that feel that, quote, no change is good change must realize that just doesn't work anymore. All right. Garbage, man. Garbage. Yeah. You know, I felt like they weren't going to make a move just based off history's past, but then, like I said, I kind of fell into it after seeing TJ got traded, and then, you know, Chase Claypool. I don't know what the Bears are really, what their plan is.
I'm confused by that team right now.
Yeah.
I'm confused, but I'm not going to say LOL Bears because they have Ryan Poles now running the show there. I think he's starting to establish what kind of team he wants to have. So always, that was kind of like trying to evaluate Matt LaFleur and Brian Gutekunst those first seasons when they were with the team. Very tough to do because you don't know the full picture. And I'm pretty sure that's what's happening with the Bears right now. So these may actually end up being really good moves. So I refrain from commenting at all. I don't want to try to evaluate that. I'll give Poles the benefit of the doubt until we see otherwise. And that may not show itself for another 2 years, potentially. These are potentially long-range moves by the Bears.
And at one point, it's like, hey, you finally got Justin Fields, a receiver, right? A go-to type of receiver. And I know people are looking at the Roquan Smith deal sort of thing. But, I mean, if there was, like he said, there was, like, no movement in terms of a long-term extension, then it's probably time to say, see you later.
Yeah. You know? I mean, I hope there aren't – I mean, I'm sure there are Bears fans – going, well, you're screwing our chances this year. Really? The Super Bowl bound Bears.
They might finish with a better record than Green Bay. That's still in the cards here at this point.
That is a possibility, yeah. But no, Roquan Smith was not going to stay. With that thing that happened over the summer where they came back with a different contract and Smith was like royally insulted.
Yep.
Yeah, he was not going to stay. That's I think, again, as much as we can assign excellence or misery to a move, I think that was more in the former category because you probably had to do it at some point. And it looks like a decent haul. Again, we'll see how, draft picks, blah, 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 go. But no, I think that was a good move on the part of the Bears. But again, incomplete. It is incomplete. We have to see what the whole picture is after like a year plus of Ryan Poles' GM in Chicago.
I feel like whenever that time does come, when the Packers will be looking for a new general manager, I would feel like that you would, and I could be completely wrong, but I mean, for the people who have an issue with Goody, I would have to imagine that they would want somebody outside the organization, right?
Yeah.
You'd want a different philosophy. You'd want somebody who doesn't have the Ted Thompson philosophy or something like that.
It's the Packer way right now, I guess, for lack of a better term. We don't really hear that term too much, but that's what it is at the moment. But who is that? Like, I think it's good that the whole group of acolytes that potentially could be GM have now dispersed, had success, had failure, had mediocrity, and I mean, just in an average sense across the league, that it's not the Gutekunst, Ball, Highsmith, Schneid. It's not like we had that a few years ago. If, let's say, Brian Gutekunst announced that he was going to be resigning just because he just didn't want to be GM anymore, we don't immediately default to all the people in the Packer front office who potentially could be general manager like we did after, like, when we knew Ted Thompson was going to
towards the end, yeah.
Right.
You had Elliot Wolf. You had all those guys,
And I don't think that's the case right now, and that's probably a good thing. I mean, I'm not – I don't think any of us can speculate on a potential new GM because, A, we're presuming that Gutekunst is going to be out anytime soon, which –
I doubt that's happening.
I mean, I'm just as a football just evaluating football, I'm getting more sour on Brian Gutekunst after the moves of this year. he's seeming to be more rigid than I was expecting. Again, that apparent wide receiver type that they look for, that if that type is not there in the first round, they won't draft a wide receiver because it doesn't fit a particular height and speed or whatever. But that apparently they have a particular type. So did that apply yesterday? Now, again, there are other teams with other deals. So, I mean, maybe you're trying to get everyone, and it just so happens everyone else has more ammunition, and you don't want to give away certain draft picks. Well, maybe that's not on Gutekunst. But
it's I mean, from all reports out there, it's the same thing that happened with the Khalil Mack thing a few years ago, where the Raiders took the Bears deal because they felt like the draft picks were going to be better. And apparently that's what happened yesterday, according to reports, is that Green Bay did offer a second-round pick, just like Chicago did. But apparently Pittsburgh took Chicago's because they thought it'd be a better pick. I mean, in
a way that reflects better on the Packers. I guess.
It does, but at the same time, you just made the Bears better too. So, I mean, yeah,
it goes both
record,
ways,
sort of thing. But
so who would be that next person up? And a lot of the GMs of late seem to kind of, I mean, unless you're following a team and you hear a lot about potentials, they kind of seem to come a little bit out of nowhere. Not like it's like stat intern guy becomes a GM in 2 years, not quite to that degree. But I wouldn't begin. I don't know where I would start to speculate on a potential.
I feel like
manager.
People still will call for Elliott Wolf,
I guess,
to be GM. But there's got to also be a reason why he has not been GM yet, and he's been on like double-digit interviews.
Mm-hmm.
Can anybody tell? I know where he's at, but can anybody tell me where he's at right now?
I forgot. I mean, last I knew, he went to Cleveland.
Okay, he's currently with New England.
Oh,
yeah.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, he's with New England.
Well, hey, maybe that makes it all the better. Bring a little bit of Bill Belichick to the Green Bay Packers. Yeah, I don't know, and maybe he hasn't. Maybe he really wants to be Packer GM, and so all these interviews he's been doing, it's half-hearted. I don't know. I mean, we're getting deep into speculation.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, where would they go? Plus, I think it's a legitimate scenario if the Packers are kind of a so-so, maybe borderline playoff team the next couple of years. Aaron Rodgers' era ends kind of with a whimper. They don't bottom out at like 3-14, but they're also not winning 13 games anymore. And there's some pressure on Gutekunst. I think more Packer fans will want, now again, it's the opinion of the fans, and it's what Mark Murphy wants is going to be the final choice. Regular reminder that those
for a couple more years,
right?
Because he's at that getting close to that mandatory.
Oh, that's right. So, okay, you know better. Who's the Mark Murphy successor?
Who's the Mark Murphy successor?
Yeah,
I do know. Cameron, I got to look it up. I know who it is though,
because this is going to be a person that's going to get
because he's got. I believe he's got 49ers background. Let me just bring it up here quick.
Okay, so whomever that person is, and we'll find out who the next Mark Murphy is in a moment. Is the one that matters, not the fans. Sorry, but that's the reality of it. It's who you think, if you're the person running the Packer organization, thinks is best. And yeah, I know the board has their input. Okay, fine. I think there's going to be pressure to go outside, and I think there might even be a desire on the part of these folks, especially this new guy comes in. And look, I think Brian could be around past Mark Murphy's tenure when Murphy has to retire. I think Brian, short of a nightmare scenario, will still be the general manager of the Packers, which means this new guy.
Yeah, Carmen Policy. I was close. I said Cameron. Carmen Policy.
Carmen Policy?
Yeah.
49. Really?
Mm-hmm.
He's going to take over the Packers?
Not Carmen Policy. I'm sorry. No, it's his kid or something like that. Yeah,
okay.
It's his kid. I'm sorry.
I was like, wait, what?
No, his kid. Policy. Yep.
Okay, that makes
Ed Policy. That's what it is. Ed Policy.
All right.
He's their chief operating officer right now.
Okay. Makes a lot.
That was the 49ers connection, so that's what it was.
Okay, got it. Okay, cool. Yeah, so he's been with the Packers for a while. Was he the guy? I want to clear this up. Was he the guy, or was it someone else? Because for some reason I'm associating my name with him, but clear this up. Who was the guy that was like big manning everyone around the inside. When I think it was the remember that insider story that came out, that really long, detailed one about 3-4 years ago?
Is it the one with Mike McCarthy getting massages?
Yeah, and then and I think in that story there was about that one front office guy that was like how the culture was changing, and there was somebody who was just being like a total jerk about it, and then nothing's going to happen because this is the way everything's changing. Well, that wasn't Ed Policy they were referencing. That was someone else, right?
I think so. I'm not. I'd have to go back. That was a Tyler Dunn article. So,
yeah, that's the one. For some reason, I'm thinking Ed Policy, but I don't want to associate as. I mean, here we are talking on the radio about, was it this guy or this guy? I want to make sure it's not him, but I would also think if he's on his way to getting in charge, that he wouldn't be a jerk.
Okay, so this is just a quote from that article. One former team personnel man describes Ed Policy, the team's chief operating officer, as a quiet puppet master.
Okay, that's not, and that doesn't match at all. Granted, that's not exactly a compliment,
right?
But it's quiet puppet master. Okay, well, I mean, so he's got plenty of connections around it. That's what that means. You're not going to hear from him much, but he's very well connected.
Yeah, he's been thought of as that next guy coming in. And remember, Mark Murphy wasn't thought of to be the next guy. I believe, was it somebody? Was it James something? But there was and then a health issue came up, and that's why they ended up opening up the search.
John Jones.
Yeah, I was gonna say James Jones. I knew it was like a JJ. John Jones. Yeah,
John Jones. I mean, he was the guy that instituted the salary cap in the NFL back in '93. I mean, it was very, very highly thought of, and well, then it turned out wasn't going all that well in the front office. Okay, so yeah, Ed Policy that'll be a fascinating choice, and I mean, smart as heck. Look at his background. Notre Dame, Stanford, was the acting commissioner in the Arena Football League. He was deputy commissioner back in the 2000s. I mean, yeah, he's. I have to think though, with him being with the Packers since 2012, and now looking at his background, so he's got a decade with the team, and will have over a decade with the team when he takes over from Murphy. That he probably signed on with Brian Gutekunst, so I'm guessing he wouldn't be the type to push him out. But at the same time, I don't think he's necessarily Packer for life. We've got to keep it within the family, and especially if the Packers are getting into mediocre world. This team is so well put together, and this organization is so well put together. They're not the 70s, 80s Packers, I think, are a thing of the past. We're not.
You did say that last week.
I did, yeah. And seeing this with Policy, that reinforces that they're not going to fall that far. But if by some chance they approach that, then that makes it all the easier to get out from the Gutekunst, from the family. But even if they have some good years, if they have good years, Gutekunst's sticking around.
He's by the way, he's the guy, I know Mark Murphy gets tagged with this a lot, but he is the guy that oversees the Titletown district. So
yeah. Oh, good. So Ed Policy going
get ready
down.
for the sledding tubing picture.
Oh, is there another photo of Ed Policy somewhere in there we can start throwing around Twitter so we can whine about him? Gosh, that's so stupid. The whining, not the sledding part.
Yeah. But yeah, that's who. I mean, he's probably going to be the next guy. So
yeah, Ed Policy would be good in that position. I think the Packers will be in good hands, and I think they'll be in good hands for however they approach the GM thing, if they keep Gutekunst or someone else. But like I said, I want to see where this whole Goody thing goes the next year or two, because again, you don't know. Maybe the right move wasn't there. And maybe Brian Gutekunst is
and that's kind of like yesterday. I was like, I would love to know the mindset, because I look at the Chiefs and I look at what the Packers, both teams in the offseason traded away their number one wide receiver, but both went different philosophies, right? Chiefs still went and got Juju Smith-Schuster and signed MVS and drafted Sky Moore and now traded for Kadarius Toney last week. Green Bay put a lot of their trust in Alan Lazard taking a leap to number one, bringing in a veteran that they were hoping we're going to have a bounce back year in Sammy Watkins, and a lot of faith in 4th-round picks and 2nd-round picks. It's two totally, completely different, perspectives. So at least like the Chiefs, hey, they still went and got younger receivers, but they brought in a couple of veterans to maybe help stopgate that, or, not rely on those younger receivers right away.
See, then that's where this goes back to the Packers seeming to have a core philosophy to how they have wide receivers, whereas the Chiefs seem, from an outside perspective, and one of our sister stations, the guy that works there, we've had on the show, Mike the intern from one of our sister stations down in Springfield, Missouri. It's like Chiefs everything down there. You think Packer fandom is big down there? It's scary just how much they're into the Chiefs. Like it seems bigger. I can't believe I'm saying that, but it feels like that. I should ask him, what was the perspective on the Chiefs bringing in the receivers that they did? Because it feels more like all right, who's out there? We're not going to have Tyreek Hill, but we're going to get it kind of as close as we can with this whole amalgamation of folks. Packers didn't seem to try to fill in what was Devontae Adams and Marquez Valdes-Scantling. They were more like, okay, well, this here, we'll try this, and maybe figure everything will eventually work. Right now, it doesn't seem to be. There is more time to come. But there seems to be more of an operating philosophy with the Packers and wide receivers than the Chiefs and wide receivers.
Well, and this is one thing I will give Ted Thompson credit over Brian Gutekunst in. Not once that I don't think so. Not once. Ted Thompson always drafted wide receivers. There was always a cupboard full of wide receivers. Like when Jennings' time was done, it was Jordy Nelson. You had Jordy Nelson. You had James Jones, Randall Cobb in there, Devontae Adams for crying. There was always that next guy ready to take that next step, right?
Right.
Well, Goody comes in, and then cupboard's bare. Then you got to rely on those younger guys.
Was it presumed to be Alan Lazard? Was ready to go and step up and be WR1, to use the fantasy term?
But, you look at the Ted Thompson era, there's always at least two guys, right? If you think about it.
Yeah.
For crying out loud, 2011, you couldn't get them all on the field at one time.
Yeah.
And we were always like, another receiver and all that. But then it's like the stock was always ready. It was there. Guy is going to move on for a bigger contract elsewhere. All right, next up in line.
Well, maybe he really was not anticipating Devontae Adams wanting to go. Maybe that was the bet. We're going to figure this out with Devontae Adams.
But shouldn't his job still, though, to be, even when Devontae was there was calls for more receivers.
That's the problem. Because, unless, and this gets into how much is Aaron Rodgers running the team.
Well, if I'm Aaron Rodgers, I'd be wanting more receivers.
I would too.
Out
but again, getting into deep speculation. Was Aaron Rodgers so pro Randall Cobb that was inhibiting the ability to develop other wide receivers? He seems to really love having Randall Cobb on the team. When Cobb is there, he's not as productive as he used to be, but he's been good for the little bits we've seen this year. Of course, now gone for a while. Was that a problem or
did Aaron Rodgers see that the other guys were nothing, like an Amari Rodgers?
Maybe that too.
Whose development did he hinder?
That's a possibility too. How much of this is on Aaron Rodgers in terms of you got your guy, you're going to keep going to your guy, you don't develop the other guys, and so Gutekunst is like, come on, like, we need to build up these guys, and Aaron Rodgers is like, no.
But who was there to potentially develop EQ?
That's a good point. So it becomes a bit of a chicken and egg sort of thing. Oh my gosh, there's so many angles on this. Wow. I don't know. I hadn't thought of the whole, could it have been, not really intentionally. It's not like Aaron Rodgers is trying to screw them over. Of course not. He's going with who he thinks is going to be best on the field as well. He's trying to win. But maybe there was a slight clash, and it just so happened one of those where suddenly you realize, wait a minute, it's like Wile E. Coyote. Suddenly you realize, wow, I'm about 15 feet off the cliff here. What happened? And there's nothing left. relatively speaking. And maybe that's the scenario, that no one was trying for this, and it just so happened that near worst case scenarios happened with the wide receivers. That could also be what we're going through, a near worst case scenario. Sometimes those happen, and this might be what's happening right now.
I'm just kind of looking at the receivers drafted by good old Uncle Ted, and the rounds that they were drafted in. Okay, I'm talking like the impact ones here. Greg Jennings was a 2nd round pick. James Jones was a 3rd round pick. Jordy Nelson was a 2nd round pick. You've got Randall Cobb would be the next one. Yeah, Randall Cobb, 2nd round pick. Devontae Adams, 2nd round pick. I mean, the guy invested a lot in receivers, making sure that cupboard was there. He did, I mean, and then we're clamoring for Goody these last few years to get a receiver. And before Christian Watson, I believe Amari Rodgers was the highest drafted receiver that Goody selected. I'm just double checking here. Yeah, Jamon Moore was a 4th rounder. Yeah, 19 nothing. 20 nothing. And 21, Amari Rodgers, 3rd round pick. So, you go back to the Ron Wolf quote where he always said that he regretted not always having or not doing more to help Brett Favre with receivers, right?
Yeah.
I think it's fair to say, even though they weren't these, quote, 1st round picks, Ted always made sure that Aaron had receivers around. Would that be fair to say?
He did. Which, again, goes back to
now defensively, probably not that greatest in drafting, but
right. I wish I could remember what that quote was. It was one of the one of the Ringer NFL insider type, like a Ben Solak or someone like that, who said what that type was that the Packers always go for. Like if it doesn't match a particular
I know there was the corner sort of thing. I never knew about the wide receiver.
I heard something and I heard it once and I didn't rewind it, but I'm 99% sure it was about wide receivers, and that's why they didn't draft in the 1st round, because that type wasn't there. Now, also, was it they as in the Packers or they as in Gutekunst and his team? I don't know if this is a long-standing philosophy or a shorter standing. I suspect it's more the latter. By the way, speaking of players who could have been on the Packers, see who the NFC Defensive Player of the Week is?
Yeah, we don't need to talk about that.
Oh, we can. Zadarius Smith.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. 3 pressures, 3 sacks, 7 total tackles, 4 tackles for loss, 1 pass defense.
I give a lot of credit, though, to your outside linebackers coach that came from Green Bay. Mike Smith was a big loss.
Yes. So. Yes. And actually, I'm reading from Kevin Seifert, who was talking about the news, and he said, funny thing is, his follow-up tweet to the tweet about Zadarius winning that, Smith should share this award with the Vikings coaching staff.
Yeah.
None of his 3 sacks came from a traditional outside rush, and et cetera. And then goes into more detail from the game. That was a great move. You're seeing a bit of a shift there westward. That is one of the few times, occasionally it's happened, usually not. This is one of the few times that something Packer shifted over to the Viking world and actually seems to have shifted the balance, like it's actually improved the Vikings and took down the Packers a bit. Usually it's totally the Vikings just taking sloppy seconds.
Well, the Vikings have 3 former defensive coaches for the Packers,
Mm-hmm.
at least 3 that I know of off the top of my head on that staff now.
But the
throwing
Packers
it way back to Ed Donatel and then Mike Patton and Mike Smith.
I will say, before we get all excited about Viking defensive guys, ask most Viking fans, and only I think in the past couple of weeks are they starting to think, well, maybe our defense is okay. That's not been a strong suit of this team so far this season. Maybe it took them a while to gel, but there was Joe Barry levels of criticism on, probably stronger on the Viking defense up until late. Yeah.
Oh man, we got to take a break. We're
running going to go
time,
to like
man.
10 o'clock here on wide receivers.
So by the time we come back, we won't have a whole lot of time. So we'll have Showdown coming up just past 8 o'clock. All right, we got less than a minute to go, so we'll kick off the next hour doing stock reports and then jump into a little showdown. Reminder, showdown is 71 to 2005, so we got quite the gap between those 2 years there.
I
So-
will say, doing a preliminary look, this might be a drubbing.
Ooh, okay. Don't tell me the year.
I won't, but
A drubbing, huh?
it might be. Well, we'll see. We'll analyze it and it could go the other way. But I would say one of the years has the overrun or the line right now is probably 14.5.
Ooh.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, I'm throwing in that half there. You got to be confident.
We'll see if we can do a Broncos Super Bowl 32 sort of comeback for that. So
kind of dark in Packer world if that's the reference today.
All right, 2 in, 1 more to go. We'll kick it off the next hour doing a little stock reports and then jump right into showdown after these messages. All right, final hour on this Making the Turn Wednesday, and it's going to be a busy final hour coming up here. Should also know Luke will be filling in for me on Friday. I'm going to be out, probably getting soaked in a tree stand because of the rain. Although a friend of the program, Mark Holly, did send me a message saying that I should be okay.
Okay.
So,
I mean, you're not going to melt. So
well, no, but I mean, not ideal.
Still not the best. It's not going to be like today. But would you rather have?
I've got no confidence, anyways, that I'll get anything. But go ahead. Sorry.
Would you rather have today's weather or Friday's forecast?
Fridays.
Okay.
A little bit colder.
Yeah.
So I'll go with that.
Okay.
But yeah. So there you go.
Okay.
So don't disappoint me.
Give us a report though on Monday how you did.
Oh, I could give it to you right now. No.
Don't even have to forecast this one.
No, I've got no confidence whatsoever in this. Kind of like a lot of people probably have confidence in Green Bay right now. So,
hey, nice segue.
Yeah, like that. All right, so you ready to do a little stock report?
Sure.
Okay. I will start with my stock risers, if you don't mind, because I've got two of them. Tennessee football and the Boston Bruins.
Wow. Doubling up here.
Doubling up. Boston Bruins off to a fantastic start in the NHL right now. And Tennessee football, hey, congratulations. #1 in college football playoff and a huge game this weekend against Georgia. That's going to be a lot of fun to watch. And Georgia is still widely favored in that game too. But if Tennessee can win that and they don't have a hiccup, that's a hell of a year for the Volunteers.
That's going to be such a fun game. I'm so. That's the afternoon game, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Yep. Yeah. Oh my gosh, that is going to be so much fun to watch.
It's supposed to rain all day Saturday, so stay in and watch it.
I know. Honestly, I was like, well, man, I got to do all my leaf raking. That's part of the reason why I'm taking some half days, like today, taking all day tomorrow, because I have to do some raking ahead of because next week's leaf pickup week. I believe it is. It's usually like the first full week of November. Remember last year when I'm totally sidetracking here, but remember last year when, because November 1st fell on a Monday, it was like the earliest possible leaf pickup week, but it was also so warm throughout October that most of the leaves were still on the trees. Like they didn't really start falling until early to mid-November. So you had to do all your raking after the leaf pickup. Well, great. Now what do we do? This year's totally different. Like the leaves are all down, but I'm going to rake these days so that Saturday afternoon, hopefully it'll sync up just right. Because my wife will be at work. My daughter will be probably having nap time, and I'm going to watch some Tennessee-Georgia football, and it's going to be a blast.
Yeah.
So and those are Georgia will be up 28-0 in the second quarter, and
we're all Volunteers this weekend.
Oh yeah, I'm totally in. I'm not anti-Georgia. I really don't have any rooting interest.
I just like that it's somebody besides Georgia and Alabama at #1 right now.
I know. I'm
or Ohio State.
And you know what? Tennessee was easy to make fun of, kind of like Georgia was, in that it was a constant. This is so easy with college football, more so I think than with any other sport. Teams where there's a lot of hype, oftentimes driven by their fan bases. Like right now, a lot of it is Texas A&M and Miami. If you listen to SB Pod, anyone listens to that, Van Pelt is constantly on the Miami and A&M fan bases for good reason too. But this happens a lot where, okay, this team, we're going on it, and then they stumble and maybe barely make a bowl game or fire their coach after a year. Georgia, I mean, they'd always be good, but remember, for the longest time, they were always going to be, they had the best recruiting class for 10 years in a row, but they could never make the championship. Well, that's finally done. Tennessee was just going to constantly have their new big coach, and then they'd be terrible for a long time.
Yeah.
Now that's changed, and I'm happy for them. I'm glad they got Josh Heupel as a good, heck of a find there.
Yeah, he came from the Central Florida, I believe.
Yep. Former championship quarterback with Oklahoma, going way back. No, it's great, and I think it'll be a fun SEC game, and I'm glad to see. As much as the Alabama-Georgia games can be really, really fun, and they are, I'm glad to see something other than that Tennessee-Georgia game and go, wow, this game is going to be huge. So, agreed.
Yep.
But the Bruins?
Yeah. Boston Bruins. Why not?
Your Boston Bruins?
No. Although if the playoffs started today, my Kraken would be in the playoffs.
Yeah.
Just saying, man.
Would they play the Wild?
I'd have to look it up
Do
again.
we have the
but they were
playoff
third.
seedings ready to go right now?
They're third right now. My Kraken are third in the Pacific.
Okay, then they couldn't immediately because they would have to play the second team.
But Boston Bruins, I mean, they're 9-1 right now. They've won 6 in a row.
They are pretty good. I will say the Wild has started to turn. And granted, they've had an easy schedule, but you're supposed to win those games, and they are now. They're starting to get a little hotter from that really bad start. But again, it's early. There's a lot to still be settled.
Yeah. My Kraken wouldn't even be a wild card, man. They're third in the Pacific. So
wow, season of the Kraken.
Only 6 points behind Vegas.
Wow, it'll be 16 in a little while.
Hey, we're on a 2-game winning streak, so
okay. And it is a streak technically.
Just be happy I had a hockey thing in here, okay?
I'm not complaining. More hockey is a good thing. So yeah, keep it up with the Kraken, and I mean that in a good way. I'm gonna go. Actually, you're a hockey guy today. I'm football guy today. San Francisco 49ers are my stock riser. Now, okay, but stock riser with a big bleeping asterisk on it. For starters, if you may have noticed, you the listener at home or at work or driving or wherever you're at right now, may have noticed that I seem to jinx all of my stock risers and fallers because they seem to do the opposite shortly thereafter. If it's a stock riser, they have a terrible game the week after. If they're a stock faller, they actually kind of turn it around. So I'm kind of jinxing the 49ers. And if you're a Packer fan, maybe you want that.
You need it.
Right. You kind of do. You kind of need to have the Packers be 8-9 and potentially a 4 seed or something. I don't know.
Well, they wouldn't be a 4. That's division winners yet. So.
Well, I know, but that's right. 5 seed. Yeah. Still getting my these seeds.
Well, you'd need like Dallas and
right
Giants.
Oh wait, the season's going.
I've got a bold prediction coming up later, by the way. Just remind me to say it.
Predictions. Okay. If everything works for the Niners, especially really in terms of injury, I think strategically they can be the number 2 team. Right now, I would, if I'm power ranking
in the NFC,
I think they're number 2 based on talent. Eagles are clearly number 1. But the McCaffrey acquisition and what the Niners can do, I know Garoppolo's got a ceiling on him, but having a guy like McCaffrey on the team is going to help cover for some of Garoppolo's flaws. And that's the asterisk. Look who we're talking about here. Jimmy Garoppolo and Christian McCaffrey. Not exactly the most durable players in the modern NFL. If they stay healthy, then this team probably is the second best. They're probably the 2 seed. They're probably in line to go to yet another NFC championship game. I mean, they're kind of they're almost like the San Francisco Giants a decade ago. They just kind of keep being good all the time. And then they'll have like a complete off year, and then they're good again. And they're always hanging around. And that's where they can be. That game, I know the Rams are not what they were from last year, but man, the Niners are impressive when they're good. But they've already had one wave of injuries, and we're just waiting for this next one to hit. But we'll see. Right now, they are a stock riser after post McCaffrey trade. Their stock's going up.
Should I just do my bold prediction now since it's related to?
Yeah, let's go for it.
Green Bay beats Dallas. Green Bay makes the postseason. They got to beat Detroit though too. So
that it's a bold prediction, but I think we were looking at the schedule like a week ago or so, and that's not a crazy prediction at all.
Because if they beat Detroit and Dallas, they'll be at 500. Tennessee and Philly is still tough. Get through the third quarter of the season. I think that that's not saying much about Green Bay. It's saying much about the rest of the NFC.
The NFC is
the Super Bowl winner's coming from the AFC. I'm just saying that right now. AFC is so much better. No offense to Philly.
That totally means the NFC team's going to win.
Probably.
It's just how it works. Yeah, outside of Philadelphia and San Francisco, and yes, I'm not counting my 6-1 Minnesota Vikings in this. I don't have a lot of faith in any team other than the Niners, if they stay healthy, or the Eagles. Eagles are looking, like I said, they look great right now. But there's a lot of mediocrity outside of that. So yeah, that's why we kind of joke about the Packers being the 5th seed in the top wild card with potentially a around 500 record, because you can no longer make I suppose if you
get a tie
8-1, yeah, you could be. Yeah. That would be, I guess, 500. How does a tie factor into winning? Sure.
There's tiebreakers with ties.
Okay, but that would be 500
because that's what was it? Wasn't it the Steelers got into the postseason one year because of that tie?
That's right. Huh. But so okay, so they it's kind of crazy to say that, but is it really?
For some people, it might be.
I know, but this is But that's the way this. Okay, let's also wait for the rest of the season to shake out. I know we're getting a little late to be like, well, there's more time, but we could have some teams go on some runs here. The conference may look better come December. Some teams may have just needed more time to gel. I said that about the Vikings for a long time. That's one example of a team that looked like they needed time to figure it out. We'll see if they do, but there are indications of that. Some other teams might get that as well, that they just needed some more time to figure themselves out, and they could be really good come December. We don't know who that hot team's going to be, by the way, that's going to go in the playoff run that looks great beginning like the week before Christmas. Who's that team?
Green Bay.
It could be. I know you're joking, but that could be the team this year that remember back in November when they were 3-5 and the season was over.
Well, I remember, and I'm not trying to make excuse for Green Bay, but remember the first year of Brady and Buccaneers, we were talking about them missing the playoffs because they were 7-5.
Mm-hmm. That's one of the best off-sided stats. Now, of course, they also had Tom Brady. So before we do that with, let's say, the Atlanta Falcons right now, understand that there's part of a reason why they got as good as they eventually did. Talk about a team that needed some time to gel. They did. And the pandemic was hurting their ability to put that team together. Finally, they got it. So it can happen with another team. But
stock down. I'm going Packers fans, mostly and because of just everybody's morale's kind of down right now. We need to raise this up. And I know winning cures a lot, but come on, we got to stick together. No more fighting with each other. No more complaining. Just let's stick together, Cheesehead Nation. Okay, it's okay. We'll get through it together. So our stock's down a little bit. We need to change that and get it back up. Get the morale back up.
Yeah,
boost it up.
I think so. I think it's a safe one. So on that note, my stock faller, Joe Barry. What the heck is wrong with that defense? No, serious, but yeah, in all seriousness. So I know LaFleur said what was his quote? Like, oh no, there's no way.
Yeah.
And maybe he's legit about that. I guess.
I think if we read between the tea leaves, though, he did admit that players were complaining. And I know there's a report from Rob Demovsky that, a couple of his sources said that defensive players have been frustrated and blah, blah, blah. But when LaFleur was specifically asked about, like the players, and he's like, well, we'd be, fools to not listen to our players and all that. I think he kind of admitted, yeah, players have been complaining.
Yeah.
And have come to him.
I find it a little hard to believe that a fairly talented group got this bad almost collectively in one off season. Jair Alexander suddenly now is an average cornerback. Really? What?
Well, he had an elite grade last week.
I mean, yeah. I mean, if you break it down, good. But this is not the year of Alexander that I think a lot of people figured, oh, he's back. And no, a lot of other players are just looking. Does that mean they all got bad, or is that the coaching? Usually it's the latter. So it's not looking good for Barry, at least long term. I wouldn't be surprised if they ride out the season and there's a different defensive coordinator. Again, if they turn it around, different story. But if this trend continues, I will be surprised if Joe Barry is back as defensive coordinator in 2023.
I want to look up something really quickly here, if I have enough time. I'm going back to the Baltimore Ravens when they won the Super Bowl in the 2012-2013 season, okay? Because, so yeah, they were 10-6. I want to look at their record at a certain point here, if I can do that. Okay, so yeah, remember the Ravens? They made the postseason as 10-6. This was Ray Lewis's final year. Joe Flacco won $1 million or earned a bunch of cash right after that. They fired their offensive coordinator in December of that year. Remember who their offensive coordinator was? Trivia question.
Wait. Because they replaced him with Jim Caldwell.
Correct.
Who was the guy they fired?
Cam Cameron.
That's right.
And remember where it was like, ooh, December, gutsy decision, to do all that. And December, the Ravens won one game in the whole month of December. One game.
Yeah.
I'm not completely doing it, but what if we get to December and they're close, but yet defense is still an issue? You do have a former defensive coordinator on your staff, and Jerry Gray.
You do.
I'm not going to completely shut the book.
I think that's a safe move. I think that they could do that but the right guys got to be in, like, they got to be confident that's the replacement to make.
Mm-hmm.
And everything's you got to be like, oh my gosh, we got to.
If you didn't have a former defensive coordinator, I say no, you don't. You don't necessarily give play calling duties. If you're still in a postseason play to a first time play caller. But the fact Jerry Gray's on that staff, and he called plays last year in the Arizona game. Remember, Joe Barry was out with COVID,
right?
So I'm not completely shutting the door. Not completely shutting the door.
And so then the Packers go on a
2012 Ravens run.
And then Aaron Rodgers gets a new contract worth $90 million.
It'll be Aaron announces like in December or something. This is my final year, so they go on this magical run, kind of like what Ray Lewis did. That was what spooked.
And then the last polka, you can just resell those shirts with like, who are you going to put in place of Devontae Adams? Can you draw like a different?
Well, on the shirts, it's Aaron. It's not Devontae.
Oh, that's right. That's right. So yeah, that would apply.
Yeah.
You might still get some new shirt sales. Out of this.
Right. Exactly. So, all right. Did you do? Oh yeah, you did yours. Okay.
Joe Barry.
Yeah, Joe Barry. So I'm not completely shutting the door.
No.
I give it a 15% chance he might not finish the year.
The fact that we're questioning his job stability mid-season is a bad sign for him. That however we want to evaluate how long, that is bad. I'm sorry. That's bad.
Yep. I say 15 to 20% chance.
Yeah.
So
agreed.
All right. We'll take our break and then a little showdown time. 71 versus 2005. Who moves on in our bracket? We'll discuss. Arts, come on. Goodness gracious.
Well, they were too.
Amateurs. Amateurs running the board over here.
Wow.
Good gracious. Good gravy. Man. Surveyor saying 71 should win just because of Rod Stewart's Maggie May came out that year. So I'll just pass that. Don't tease anything yet, Luke, because that's you, music. So just leave it there. All right. 71 to 2005. Should we do the sports one to start it off with?
Yes.
Okay.
So 1971.
1971. That's when the Colts won the Super Bowl, right?
Honestly, one of the worst Super Bowls of all
Yeah.
time. Generally considered that way. When I watched it, I found the game video, which the game broadcast is on YouTube.
But is it really one of the worst? Because they beat the Cowboys. So
True. But yeah, but seriously, what if you watch the thing? And I think part of the game didn't like. Again, we're talking old videotapes, so not all of it's on YouTube. But when I watched it, I remember coming out, and I knew it was considered one of the worst played ones. Come out of it going, wow, that sucked. Like you got Johnny Unitas not playing well. It's not a good game. That in a way it kind of hurts, even though it was a pretty memorable ending. I mean, it was a walk-off field goal for the Colts.
More locally, Bucks won the NBA championship.
Yes, that counts for a lot.
Pirates won the World Series over Baltimore.
First night game in the World Series that year, by the way. Also, December 25th of 1970, went back to professional football.
Oh, the Dolphins and Chiefs.
Yep, the longest game in NFL history, double overtime. So that was that year as well. So I mean, there were plenty of memorable moments. Chris Evert, I had as a 16-year-old, got to the semifinals of the U.S. Open.
Joe Frazier beat Muhammad Ali at Madison Square Garden, the first of 3 bouts between the two.
So a lot of really good that year. 2005, unless I'm missing something, I can jump out to 05.
I mean, UCLA won college hoops in 71. I mean, UCLA won. I mean,
it's like UCLA won every year.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, they didn't, but it kind of feels like.
2005, Patriots beat the Eagles. That was the T.O. playing on a broken ankle. And how did he, with the cryo chamber, remember that whole ordeal?
Yep. The dry heave game
from Donovan McNabb.
Yeah.
Patriots still won. So
right.
White Sox defeated the Astros. It was kind of a boring World Series.
Yeah.
I'll be honest with you.
There was no hockey Stanley Cup playoffs because lockout. NBA Finals. Speaking of potentially the worst ever, arguably this for a 7-game series. You'd think 7-game series equals great. No. I remember watching that. I remember going into that thinking, "Oh, this is going to be fun." It wasn't.
No, Spurs Pistons.
It was like the final moment of the plotting, defensive oriented. Everyone just stands around era of the NBA right before the rules changes kicked in and opened up the game, which led to this very free-flowing, maybe too much so, but that was the last of those series.
There was 2 things, though, in 2005 that are memorable in my life.
I think I know one of them, but go ahead.
Tiger Woods. Yeah, the chip and the Masters. Everybody just you know what I'm talking about.
Yes, it's just waiting there on the hole, waiting.
Boop. I remember watching that in college in my apartment. Watched the chip and then it stopped. I'm like, oh dang! So I went back to my computer to finish my paper, and then all of a sudden the TV gets loud with cheers. I'm like, what? So I actually missed it in live because I thought it stopped, and I'm like, okay, I gotta go back and finish my paper, and then
Yep, I remember we were doing one of those like a ticket giveaway party for I-94 for our sister station. I remember we were at the old tailgates and that was up on the screen. And I think I saw right after it happened, I'm like, what? And you see that oh my gosh, that was incredible.
The other one for me was the national championship between North Carolina and Illinois. That was Roy Williams. Remember second year as the head man. But personally, I remember because I won the bracket challenge that year. I had Illinois versus North Carolina. I had North Carolina winning it. So, I remember that one.
Personal best.
Yeah, exactly.
That counts. Otherwise, Brewer-wise, both years weren't great. Bucks-wise, 05, clearly inferior. Packers-wise, not a good year. Hey, that was the first. Hey, is this Brett Favre's final season? Oh,
yeah. That was the 4-12 year, wasn't it?
The beginning of an annual tradition. But neither Packer team was great. I'm trying to remember the Badger football team did in 05. Badger basketball was good, as I recall. That year, Badger hockey won the national championship. I think it was, but I want to verify. Quick looking it up. Got it? Because it's
We,
not.
while you're doing that, there is one thing though that we should note about this Packers team in 2005 that was a positive.
It's 2006 was when the Badger men's hockey team won. That's when.
But there was one good thing in 2005.
Uh-huh.
We had the Sam Congato era in 2005 for the Packers.
Oh, yeah.
Sam Congato. Remember,
That's true.
Mhm.
I mean, that was pretty fun. I will say. But Jake Dahl was on that Badger team. That's what I was thinking of because there was the Eau Claire connection. But again, that's 06. It's not 05. I think 71 wins this one.
Yeah, I would have to go with 71. Although
it's not a slam dunk, but when you have like no hockey playoffs,
the Bucks thing is,
and the Bucks, that's the big one.
I mean, the Masters one for me, 05 is the highlight of it. But
that goes a long ways.
I'll go, but that's an iconic. I'm trying to keep my personal things away from this. So
hey, remember, I was able to oust 1987.
Yeah, so I'll go 71.
Yeah, I'll go 71. Okay. So which one do we want to do next? Movies or music?
Movies. We'll do movies. So 71, we've got some movies. A Clockwork Orange.
Yep.
I'll be honest, I never saw it. So,
I've never seen it, but it is a classic sci-fi thriller kind of movie.
The only movie that I think I've seen, I'm going through this IMDb list. The first one pops up at number 6 is Dirty Harry.
Really? Because Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory came out
on there
that year.
too. I've seen that, but I'm going through the order. They have that at 12. So.
Diamonds Are Forever. I mean, it's not the greatest Bond movie of all time, but yeah, Dirty Harry was out there.
Fiddler on the Roof.
THX 1138 has gotten more attention as time has gone on because of George Lucas's essentially coming out party. The French Connection. Yeah, you mentioned Fiddler on the Roof. Let's see. Looking further down. Again, it's based on popularity. Play Misty for Me went over pretty well that year.
It is really okay. So there's a connection between 71 and 05 here.
Okay. That being
2005 was Charlie and the Chocolate Factory.
Aha.
Look at that one. 05, you had Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire. You had Batman Begins, the first of the Christian Bale.
Okay.
V for Vendetta. I like that movie.
Solid choice.
Yep. Constantine's on there. The Chronicles of Narnia, The Lion, Witch, and the Wardrobe.
Wedding Crashers.
Big one right there. Just, yep. Star Wars Episode 3.
Revenge of the Sith, thought to be the best of the prequels.
Brokeback Mountain.
Yeah.
I'll be honest, I've never seen it.
The 40-Year-Old Virgin.
Amityville Horror. My favorite horror movie of all time. And it doesn't get enough love. Because it's the only one that still creeps me out. Exorcism of Emily Rose.
Really?
Yep.
Why does it creep you out?
It's based on a true story. Those always give that's extra credit points for me if it's based on a true story. But there's a particular scene in that movie. So if you don't know, I'll give you kind of a background on it. A priest is put on trial for being a part of a young woman's death because of she was possessed. But it was did he actually help her out? Did he kind of push her to what I'm getting at? Did he do enough to help her survive or anything like that? But so it's based off that. But there's a particular scene where he's talking about where he's in his apartment at the church or something, and stuff starts to turn black. That he runs outside and he looks up and there's a black cloaked person nodding his head. And he's like, it was the devil acknowledging the game is on, and that gives me the creeps every time. So
wow,
it's a very creepy movie. So you got that on there. Just Friends is a classic Christmas movie that doesn't get enough love. 2005 wins it for me. I'm sorry.
You know what? This is another year similar to what was in 1973, where that's a top-heavy year, and then it kind of tails off. Not as much as 73. That was two really good movies, and then a lot that just didn't last.
There's a lot of movies in this one that I went on a lot of dates with. Hitch. Oh yeah.
Walk the Line was that year.
Yep. Longest Yard with Adam Sandler.
Yeah. Still go original, but I understand it.
Madagascar.
You know what? I will lean 2005 on that one.
Right, so
this is a little bit of an upset, but music's going to shift this one.
All right, we'll see.
71 best albums. Led Zeppelin 4. That's the one with Stairway to Heaven.
Okay.
Among other what all was on that? Just look at the track list of that one. I mean, there. Joni Mitchell's Blue, one of the most influential albums of all time. L.A. Woman from The Doors. Who's Next from The Who. Honky Dory from Bowie. Sticky Fingers from The Stones. Like all mega icons. 2005 best albums. Looking.
No, this is probably going to be my era. So
It is, but if you look at the albums, like I'll be honest, okay, Late Registration came out that year, and say what you will about all things Kanye nowadays, I know, but Late Registration came out that year, solid album. X and Y was pretty good from Coldplay, but
you're missing a classic song in 2005. Can I play it for you?
Well, I'm not to the songs yet. These are just the albums.
I don't want you to take away my thunder here, so I got something prodded up, ready to go.
You got Since You've Been Gone.
No, but
that was the one where Kelly Clarkson was on like every single TV show promoting it. I half expected she was going to be on like News Center 13 at 5 to promote that song. She was she's on every. It's a great song too.
Yeah, the classic meme now.
Yes, I love that. Look at this photograph. Look at this graph. Because that's what it is. It's a bit of a choppy edit, but I love the meme. It's one of the best memes ever. I mean, some of the songs are good. Like I said, Since You've Been Gone is an all-timer. Gold Digger's great. I know. Again,
Holla Back Girl.
Holla Back Girl's good. Yeah, I know. It's still look. I mean, every time I buy bananas, I'm always making the reference. Every time. We Belong Together is really good.
Boulevard of Broken Dreams.
Yes. Now again, a lot of these songs came out in 04. A lot did. But they were out there. Now, 71 top songs from that year. Maggie May, Joy to the World. Oh, gosh, Carole King's Tapestry. How did I leave that out? Again, absolute, maybe like the definitive singer-songwriter album of all time. It's Too Late, I Feel the Earth Move. Just My Imagination from The Temptations. Me and Bobby McGee from Janis Joplin right before she passed away. That came out. Brown Sugar came out that year. It's 1971. What's Going On? Marvin Gaye. Hello.
Oh, yeah. What is it called? What's Going On?
What's Going On?
Oh.
What's Going On? Yeah.
Oh, okay.
That one.
Okay.
And the whole album, that album is, again.
I thought it was Let's Get It On. That was 73.
I think that was 73, yeah. But again, What's Going On?
What's Going On and Let's Get It On. Okay, Marvin, can you be a little bit more creative?
Well, they're about different topics. What's Going On is more, can we fix stuff? And Let's Get It On is, fixing some other stuff, shall we say.
Yeah. That's my best.
You're trying to do the Marvin, yeah. What was the number one? Because Rolling Stone redid the top albums of all time. And I'm trying to remember What's Going On? What was their ranking again? Because I think 71 is going to show up here. I'm bringing up Rolling Stone's list. When they revised the list, and they've had like 3 different versions of this.
Surveyor says 71 was one of the greatest song years of all time.
Yes.
All-time classics.
Agreed. What's Going On is the number 1 album of all time, according to Rolling Stone. Joni Mitchell's Blue is number 3.
Wait, Rolling Stone said the best album of all time is that Marvin Gaye one?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Of all the genres.
When they
every year.
Yes, because they redid the top 500 a couple years ago, and it shifted around a lot of stuff. But that's getting different perspective as time goes along. Certain albums look better. Some maybe we're going more on the reputation of the artist or whatever. And yeah, What's Going On, which had already been thought of really highly, now is number 1. Tapestry, by the way, number 25 all time. Again, according to Rolling Stone, however much you put into that, but it's the closest to a definitive list. So yeah, this is 1971 hardcore.
Okay, yeah. I mean, if they got the greatest album of all time in 71, it's got to be 71. So.
kind of is.
I don't know anything about music, so
yeah,
I'll go
take
with that.
my word for it. Yes, yeah. I mean there's some good songs. Like I said, album wise, it's. I know we were kind of exiting the album era by that point, so that's not exactly a fair fight, but it's 71. So we're having enough. 71's going to advance.
Yeah. I got to put it on the thing here. So, okay. Another older year. Moving on. How about that?
Well, that is Bananas. Bananas. I just had to do that.
Why do people hate
it's been-
Nickelback so much?
I've never really figured that out. Like, I don't hate them, but
Like it's the butt of a joke for a lot of people, including Aaron Rodgers.
it's like everyone jokes about Nickelback.
Yeah, like I know was it a few weeks ago when he was on the golf cart with David Bakhtiari? Apparently, he was telling a bunch of people there, this guy effing loves Nickelback. And I'm like, and it's been this way for the last however long. But I don't know anything about music, so that's why I just don't know why people.
I think because it's like kind of rock and it's kind of pop and it's not really that great, but it's also inescapable too. Like Nickelback songs were all over the radio for a while. I mean, How You Remind Me, of course, but then came like
The Spider-Man movie, Hero, with
that one
Josie
was-
Scott. See, I know that one.
yeah, that one actually didn't get as much play as some of the other ones. Like that one kind of disappeared, which surprised me because I remember when it did come out. But think of like, yes, I'm bringing up the Nickelback discography. You're welcome, Chippewa Valley. Deep diving into Nickelback here. Someday, Photograph, Saving Me. Again, they were kind of too bad. They were kind of omnipresent.
What was the year they did the Cowboys Thanksgiving halftime, and they just had this corny song, and I think they got booed.
Let's see. Going back to Nickelback.
It would have been like maybe 2010, 2011.
Looking for NFL Cowboys.
It was
Yes. Okay, here we go. That was 2011. As part of the promotion for their then new album, Nickelback was booked to perform at the halftime shows for the Thanksgiving Day game at Ford Field and the Grey Cup the following day, or 3 days later. It doesn't go into detail on.
Oh, it was When We Stand Together was that song.
Yeah. Are there like a chorus of boos?
I remember that. Yeah,
I vaguely remember hearing about that
Mhm.
from that day. Yes. I'm like, yay, this is fun. Nickelback's getting booed.
Poor Nickelback. I'll stand up for him. I have no idea why, but
Nickelback booed NFL. I wonder if that's Nickelback gets booed in Detroit.
So it was Detroit. Okay, I knew it was a Thanksgiving one, but for some reason I had Cowboys in my mind. Maybe because I'm still thinking of the Creed.
Wait, I'm gonna listen to something quick here and make sure it's safe.
Okay. Fantastic radio.
Okay. All right, take a listen to this.
Halftime show featuring Nickelback. This special halftime show figures over $9 million.
Oh, I love it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Nickelback and the NFL. Do you think they get booed as much nowadays, or has enough time passed? Because that was still kind of near. I mean, it wasn't quite peak. Oh gosh, Nickelback sucks, but it was close enough. Do you think now it would be ironic enough that people would actually be like, "Oh, here's Nickelback. They're gonna suck. Woo!" and they'd be into it?
I think people would just boo just because they're told to boo.
Well, that because people do. Though Photograph would probably go over really well right now.
Mm-hmm.
I can't believe I'm saying that, but how many people would be like, they'd sing along, "Look at this graph," and it would screw up the whole thing.
I love the guy that has that. I'm sure you've seen it, and I got to take the break here, but like has the T-shirt or something like that, where it's like him holding a photograph, and then somebody else takes a photograph of that, and somebody else takes a photograph of that, and then somebody else takes a photograph of that, and somebody else takes a photograph of that.
Picture in picture in picture in picture in picture.
Yep.
The infinity thing. Oh, that's great.
People
I
hate
love it.
Chad Kroger so much.
Yeah.
I don't know why. I want a legit reason why.
I mean,
too.
Avril
Like,
Lavigne liked him, but
well, for a hot minute,
for a little bit.
yeah, I want a legit reason why, like a scientific.
Tell us,
reason.
people.
Scientific. I just saw this tweet. Would you buy this too? If the National League didn't have the DH this year, Phillies wouldn't be doing what they're doing right now.
Yeah. I mean, that's how you get Kyle Schwarber to do Schwarber things.
Mm-hmm.
That being said, I think they could have gotten their way through the playoffs. I don't know that we would have had, everyone has a home run from last night.
Harper was playing a little more DH. Remember he went through the injury, but still able to hit in that.
Mm-hmm.
So,
but I think that's true for tonight, and that's going to be true for other teams in the future too. That changes the dynamic when you massively upgrade an offensive.
Well, and I wonder
position.
too, because I'm reading a little bit here. This is from Fox Sports. At some point, things changed. Harper learned to see his situation as a blessing, not a curse. He leaned into his obsession with hitting and began hyper-focusing on his at-bats, often going over video mid-game with the Phillies hitting coach. Whenever his spot in the order was due up the next inning, Harper heads to the underground batting cage to take some swings, a ritual he's continued even during these tense October ball games. So I wonder now, guys like Harper, who obviously, got paid for his bat, but now with the DH in both leagues, are we going to see that more with these guys just focusing on, the hitting? It says one here, Harper spends all day thinking about his ABs, said a reserve infielder for the Phillies.
Yeah.
Nick Madden. So
I
should that be Christian Yelich?
Right.
That's a question. Should that be Christian Yelich?
Maybe it should. It's another interesting thing that's going to come up again, previewing Friday morning when we have the Craig Kashan interview. We talk about what should we expect from Christian Yelich, and maybe the answer is not designated hitter, but maybe designated hitter is what he needs. I hadn't even thought of that, but that's maybe a possibility. But I wonder if that's still a position where you kind of need someone that's defensively deficient. Harper's good defensively.
Mm-hmm.
Schwarber's not. That's part of the reason why Kyle Schwarber is more of a DH type. That's usually that's where you usually put your designated hitter, guy who's great with offense and not good in the field. But that's not Christian Yelich, really. I mean, he's not Byron Buxton out there, but he's also not Kyle Schwarber either. So I don't.
And don't read into the fact that Yelich was nominated for a Gold Glove this year, as Brandon and I were kind of joking about when it was announced.
I mean, how many people get nominated for Gold Gloves?
That's losing a little bit of luster.
You get a Gold Glove. You get a Gold Glove.
Well, I mean, they got the 3 finalists, but it's Yelich was kind of on there because he was one that spent the majority of his time in left field. Is outfielders becoming positionless now?
Kind of. I'll actually be curious with the shift going away next year. How do outfield positions change? Do you see outfield shifts, which aren't going to be as effective as infield shifts, but do you see more of that? I mean, technically still would have a left field. I don't know. I probably stays the same, but there's less of a lock-in of position. At least that's been the trend. Like I said, with the shift being banned, I think that locks it back more authentic shortstop play, more authentic third base play. But maybe the outfield shifts up a little bit. No pun intended.
Yeah. I'll be curious to see how teams kind of build and factor in the shift or banning the shift and all that for next year. So
yeah.
All right. What else do we got on the doc? Bucks are back in action tonight against the Detroit Pistons. They'll try to remain undefeated. 7:00 tip time coverage will begin on 105.1 FM and 790 AM about 6:30 tonight. Also, you've got the World Series Game 4 tonight because everything was pushed back a day with the weather. Thanks, Philly, with no roof. But
every baseball stadium needs a dome.
That's just.
We actually got just channeling Bob Bosold on that one. Yes.
Did you?
As God intended it.
Maybe we talked about it last week, but you saw the Buffalo Stadium renderings?
I did.
I like the Buffaloes on the outside. I really hope they're as big as those pictures showed. That's cool.
I think so. The Bills one, there was more of a this will be tweaked, so I wouldn't get entirely married to it. Though the big Buffalo thing outside, they made a point of talking about that being
yeah, you got some 50-foot statues of buffaloes out there. I'm all on that one.
If anyone hasn't seen that, look up new Bills Stadium renderings. There's only like two renderings out there, but one of them shows the exterior. It's also like this kind of translucent material around the stadium, which is going to be designed to cut down on the wind, but it also means you'll be able to see inside. I kind of like where they're going with this. And inside, it's a little asymmetrical, just a bit.
Yeah.
But I kind of like where they're going with this. Again, there's more tweaking to be done. But yeah, those massive buffaloes outside, that will be a part of this new
The
stadium.
Bucks should somehow put like 100-foot big old metal 30-point buck statue out there. Come on.
A
massive
massive 3D logo with the deer head with like beady red eyes.
Yeah, it's got to be a
Fear the deer.
30-pointer though.
Well, of course.
At
But
least.
yeah,
At
total
least
fear the deer
30.
thing. Yeah, I'd be all for that.
That'd be sweet, man.
Yeah.
I don't know what he says here, but I'm going to play a clip from Ian Rappaport talking about the Packers being in on a wide receiver. I
Okay.
think we know who it is, but this is from Good Morning Football this morning. Yeah. Okay, so there we go. I think that's like the frustration now for a lot of Packers fans is they're getting tired of like always being in the conversation.
Yeah.
And never pulling a trigger.
I understand that.
So like in this case, maybe the fans are like, well, then add a 7th round pick to sweeten the deal or something like that. I don't know.
But on the other hand, are you going to mortgage the future for something that might kind of work out right now? Like that's the ultimate question with all of this. Was this wide receiver trade going to get the Packers to the top of the NFC and get them back to being the Super Bowl contender we thought they were going to be? I don't think so. Plus, there's also the question, and I think this is legitimate. This isn't getting into too much deep speculation. The third time I've used that term this morning. Is Aaron Rodgers going to feel comfortable with any of the available wide receivers? That's legit. If he can't fully get on board with a guy, like it's not like he's going to ice him out, but if he's not going to feel fully comfortable for a half season and however long a playoff run goes, then why did we do this?
Mm-hmm.
You might as well hold tight if it's not that much of an upgrade, and then you've shipped off a bunch of draft picks for someone that may not work out. It's easier for me to say not being a Packer fan, but I can understand it if that was the theory. I'm still kind of questioning what I think is some rigidity on the part of Gutekunst. But if that's the reasoning, I'm more on board. Then I see where he's coming from, and maybe I agree with what he did, if that was the reason.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know. And the thing is, though, too, that's kind of and I get it. Like, I feel bad. We talked about this during the McCarthy and Ted Thompson era. The guy that's going to have to answer for all this is going to be today, Matt LaFleur.
Mm-hmm.
He's going to have to answer those questions, right? He's going to get pelted with that.
Mm-hmm.
It should be Goody. But at the same time, what do you expect Goody to say? What is he going to say? Is he going to reveal any earth-shattering stuff? No. He isn't going to say anything that's going to make people feel better, right? I mean, he's not going to do that.
What's going to change it?
Right. I just feel bad that LaFleur has to answer those questions. It shouldn't be him. It should be the GM. There were a couple of GMs who did speak yesterday for teams, but I don't know. We'll see.
How do you think Gutekunst is compared to? I mean, he's an upgrade from Thompson in terms of communicating with the public. I've always thought that's a little overrated, but I understand why. How would we rate that?
In terms of being better than Ted?
Yeah.
I'd say he's better, but maybe for some he doesn't talk. Okay. Would you rather have the Jerry Jones aspect where he has a radio spot every week and he's like, hey, quarterback controversy, and then when it comes to actual where there should be a controversy with your running back, no, we're not doing that. With Tony Pollard and Ezekiel Elliott, would you rather have that type of GM?
Yeah.
I probably wouldn't. Although
mean,
it makes our jobs easier because we get to talk about it. But, I don't know as a fan if I'd want that.
I mean, yeah, I would rather.
Although Bill Belichick also has a spot every week. So, I mean, come on now. That's Bill.
Okay.
What are we doing here, Green Bay? Come on, LaFleur. For crying out loud.
What is he talking about in the show?
Yeah. He's got to get paid boatloads of cash for that.
Yes. I would rather have the Gutekunst approach than the other approach. If it's an either or proposition.
Mm-hmm.
Most are down the middle anyway. But okay.
Because he did do, the big one was when they cut Jordy Nelson. He held a presser.
Right.
Ted Thompson wouldn't have held a presser.
And honestly, I haven't seen too many other GMs having a lot of press conferences around the league.
Mm-hmm.
I can't think of Kwesi Adolfo-Mensah.
No,
really
I think it was
doing
the Jets one that had the presser yesterday, Douglas. That I'm thinking of.
But it's pretty rare outside of that. Usually you're hearing coaches talk this time of year. So, I mean, that's an in-season thing, too.
Mm-hmm.
It's off-season when you're going to want to hear more from your GM, and he does talk. So that is better. By the way, you see about Jamie Hoskins buying a case of beer for folks? The wife of Reese Hoskins?
No.
Yeah, I just saw that on Sports Illustrated. Reese Hoskins is fast becoming one of my favorite baseball players. The way he's been reacting to everything in Philadelphia, like he loves what's going on. It's like he's a fan and he gets to play for the team.
Nice.
Yeah, like
It's another good Vibin Wednesday.
That is absolutely a good vibe
right there. All right, that's gonna do it for us. DP and a Dance are up next. Have a fantastic rest of your Monday. I'll be back tomorrow. Luke will be back on Friday. Okay. We'll talk to you then.
Bye.